Neon lights flashing in the dark of the night. I'm playing Pac-Man, it's my second life. The joysticks in my hand, I'm unstoppable. High score secrets, I've got them all unlocked. Memories rush back like a time machine. Take me back to the arcade, where I spent my younger days. In the black lights glowing on a pocket full of tokens. Dance and groove to the beat, on the pixelated screen we meet. New wave melody playing loud, lost in the arcade, my heart is found. With hair and red fashion, we were all quite excited. Popping tokens in the cabinet, it's the thrill of the fight. We saved the world through pixelated dreams. We're the greatest generation with our faded acid genes. Take me back to the arcade, where I spent my younger days. In the black lights glowing on a pocket full of tokens.
Welcome to day 3, stream 1 of our breakout sessions during Week of AI. We have Nadine Gilkison, the District Technology Integration Specialist at Franklin Township Schools in Indianapolis, who spent over a decade of promoting effective technology use in education. She also is a huge advocate of Google Education and Canva and Taylor Swift and the Kelsey brothers, as noted in the title of her session, Studying in the Era of AI. We're taking our skills to new heights, which if you haven't listened to the Kelsey Brothers podcast, I highly recommend it. Hardcore Chiefs fans here. So
thanks so much, Amanda. So I'm really excited about this session that we're going to be doing with our time tonight with Studying in the Era of AI. And I'm going to focus on 5 ways to take your learning to new heights. As she mentioned, I am a District Technology Integration Supervisor for Franklin Township Schools. She already listed off enough about me, so I'm going to move forward and we're going to get down to business.
I will say, if you're in the Indianapolis area, you have your Spark conference going on in June.
Yes,
so.
It's coming up very quickly, and it is actually sold out for June 6th, but we have a wait list going. I feel like Taylor Swift with our sellout with our tickets, but we're super excited for it.
Now you got to start scalping them. I'm gonna get my ticket and stand out in the front and be like $200.
There you go. So of course, in Kelsey Brothers style, I had to put new news on here. So we're tying in some research, and thanks to Teach AI, we're already hearing about how students are using AI and leveraging it when they're thinking of helping them study. So if we take a look here, it's saying 73% of students say AI is going to help them better understand material, and 67% are already saying that AI helps them study faster and more efficiently. So I wanted to dive deeper into what does studying with AI look like, because I feel like everyone talks so much about the topic of cheating with AI and how do we combat, all of that, when I really am doing a big focus on getting kids to understand how to leverage AI with studying with it. So you're going to be hearing actually some audio clips within this presentation that come from my own kids. And first off, you're going to see my daughter Kate is featured in here, and she's a freshman at Greenfield Central Junior High. So I wanted to, when we start to dive into this, I wanted to come up with these 5 different ways. And so when I sat down with my kids, we came up with these 5 categories. I'm big on when I do PD, I want a teacher or a student in this case to walk away with 5 different ways that they could use AI to help them study after this session to use anytime. So the first category that we're going to talk about is sift, sort, and strategize. And my daughter, Rachel, who is actually just finishing her sophomore year at IU, is going to be talking about how she uses this strategy at the college level. Oh, and I'm wrong. It's Kate first. What am I thinking? So in the picture, Kate is going to be explaining to me. I happen to be walking by the kitchen and I noticed that she had out all of this paperwork and she had out her phone. And I was like, what are you doing there? And she said, well, I'm studying to get ready for an exam. And I said, okay, tell me what AI that you're using. And she said, well, I'm using the Snapchat AI, which I have to admit, as a parent, I completely cringed at the beginning whenever I heard that. But then I had to stop myself and think, okay, if I'm a teenager and I know about AI chatbots, what's the first one that a teenager is going to go to? A Snapchat. And so I said, all right, then kind of walk me through how you were using it. And she said, and this is, she has out her student device, she has out paperwork, she has out notes that she's taken, any kind of resources from her teacher, and then also that Snapchat AI. And she said, well, I asked it to help summarize the Cold War, but then I went back to my notes and I made some connections, and I was asking it to help me make it easier to digest. And then I quickly said, well, do you think that's cheating? And I love that she said, no, it's not cheating. It's like putting what you're learning in a simpler form. And of course, the mom and me and educator was immediately saying, well, I hope that you fact check the sources because we all don't know how accurate that the Snapchat AI is. And she said, yes, mom, I did. So that really actually made me happy because I wasn't telling her, hey, you can use AI to help you study. She figured that out all on her own. Now, if I'm correct, it should be my daughter, Rachel, talking next.
To help me study for my anthropology final, I used ChatGPT to create a study outline from the PowerPoints that my professor used in class. My professor was known to underline, bold, italicize, or put things in red that she considered to be important for our class. So I gave ChatGPT all of the PowerPoint presentations and asked it to pull all of the underlined, bolded, or emphasized text and create an outline based on importance. I was then able to take that outline with all these terms, definitions, and concepts and put them into Quizlet AI to create a study set from this outline. This allowed me to study for my final without having to spend all the time making my studying materials, allowing me to get a better grade in the long run because I had more time to study, period.
And I really appreciate the conversations that my kids were willing to have with me about this because I really want educators to realize that this is a great way for students to be able to leverage AI. Again, I will fight tooth and nail. This is not cheating. This is, you heard my daughter saying, I would have to create my own study materials. And now because I'm learning how to use AI in the process, she's able to spend more time actually studying than having to create those study materials. So that's where we came up with the sift, sort, and strategize. So the next key concept is going to be how to visualize vocabulary. So there's a couple different ways that we can use this, and we'll kind of dive into that next.
To study for my anthropology class, I also created concept webs that involved the terms that were on my slide presentations posted by my professor after class. I gave ChatGPT all of these slides and asked it from there to link all of the concepts that were included on the slides and show how they're all related. I had it create a concept web for me so I could see how one term related to another, allowing me to study by seeing all of my terms in one place, rather than looking at all of them individually and trying to memorize term and definition.
And I know that she used the term concept web. I know a lot of times we talk about that hexagonal thinking, but again, I hadn't thought as an educator as a way to, teach students how they can leverage AI to help them form those connections. Again, the connections could be innately there, but when she's having to think about something to study for, like a big final or something like that, and you're looking through massive amounts of content, that's a great way to leverage AI to use it for that purpose.
Language learning can be incredibly difficult for kids that are visual learners. I saw this a lot when I took Spanish in high school. I believe that AI could provide a solution for this. Because my Spanish class was primarily vocabulary based, it was kind of hard to incorporate visuals. I think that AI could provide visuals for these vocabulary words using generated images. An example of this is the Spanish word for lawyer is abogado, which sounds a lot like the English word avocado. You could use AI generated images to create a blend of this abogado and avocado cognate, also following up with the actual definition in English of avocado. AI could generate an image that looks like an avocado that's also a lawyer, providing kids with a visual image to see their vocabulary in front of them and giving them a good study tool.
And I really love the fact that my daughter brought all of this up. This is my daughter who's in college, but she was thinking back to, when she was in a Spanish class and how this could be applied. Now, when we were working together to come up with this, the one that I chose to use for this was Microsoft Designer. But I always want people to know, yes, I'm very aware there's lots of other options that are out there. ChatGPT, Gemini, Padlet, Ideogram AI, and Adobe Firefly. I often think about being able to leverage, images and that visualizing vocabulary. All students can benefit from it, but especially students who are ELs and also students with special needs. I have 2 children that have dyslexia, and I know that having that struggle with language support, this is going to be very beneficial for them. So the third option is what I started to call the tailored tutor. Now, these may be things that we are already aware of, but I just want to make sure that students and educators are aware of the possibilities of being able to use these. School AI has a great product in where a teacher can come up with a tailored tutor. You can customize it, but I really like when I am using School AI with teachers and with their classes is the fact that I can customize it, but I also have in there some pre-made tutors that are already available. In addition to having that pre-made tutor, I know they also have the Sidekick chatbot where the student can, have a generic, it's almost like a mini ChatGPT within that Sidekick, but it's, moderated. And the student can start to develop the questions and the focus that they want to have. Currently, I've actually written a grant, which we haven't heard back yet, but I'm crossing my fingers, for us to do a pilot of School AI in our resource classrooms at our high school level. And where I really feel like that this tailored tutor is going to come in handy is the fact that when children come to like a curriculum tutoring room at that age, there's a lot of different topics that someone in that room is trying to help them with. And I reached out to some of our special ed teachers that are at that level. And I said, do you think that this would be a valuable tool that could benefit students? And they immediately said yes. And, they said, could we get a kid that comes in and says, I need help with algebra, I need help with biology, I need help with world history. And there's only so many adults that are in the room. And so the impact that a tool like School AI can have is, really immense. And that's why I want to do a targeted pilot. But I am aware that School AI is not the only product that's out there that does this option. Magic School has, where you can set up a Magic Student side as well. And it has really that tailored tutor concept that is in there. So inside of it, the teacher can create their own, room for the students. And as I've got, listed in there, we've got the Tutor Me with AI. And that's where you're just seeing me run a demo there, but it's the same concept where they can do that in there as well. Now, for students that are outside of K-12, like my daughter who's in college, I think oftentimes they create their own tailored tutor from using ChatGPT or Gemini or even Copilot. So just kind of knowing that, range of, obviously at the K-12 level, we're thinking of having those, privacy and security measures, having a moderated tutor, and how important that is. So the fourth one is going to be Write with AI Insight. There's lots of ways that we can use AI to give us the feedback and support that we need with writing. And it's not plagiarism. Yes, I'm very aware that students could abuse it and use it in that way. But again, I choose to focus on the benefits of how it can help out students. So my daughter.
During my freshman year, I had a professor teach me how to utilize AI in my writing when it comes to finding research papers. I wrote a lot of research papers last year, and to make it more efficient, my professor taught us this trick to use AI to find resources that match our research. We gave ChatGPT all of the constraints and requirements for papers that would be relevant to our research, and ChatGPT then gave us relevant sources that could be included in our research papers. This cut down the research time significantly for me, because finding sources for your papers is one of the most time-consuming parts of writing a research paper. This allowed me to focus more on the quality of my writing with the extra time that I had.
So the part about this, which I know at the beginning it kind of chopped off because I was talking, I really love about this is the fact that my daughter said that her professor in college taught the students in class how to use AI to assist them when they were looking for those research papers. And he actually walked them through and gave demonstrations in class of how to give AI those constraints and requirements so that way they could get the information that they needed. And I want to encourage not just K-12, but also at the college level. There are ways that we can teach students how to leverage AI and how to study with it. And so I applaud the professor that was already, thinking forward in how to integrate that into his course. So, in addition to the option that she gave, of course, we also have potential options for teachers. So, inside of Magic School, I can also have under that Magic Student component, I can have the writing feedback portion in there where the student can add, they can add portions of their writing and it can give them the feedback that they need. Inside of School AI, I noticed that they did have like a targeted tutor where they could get some feedback, but I also know that they have the sidekick where the student can interact with that chatbot again and getting the information that they need about their writing. One that my teachers are talking about a lot is Brisk, and the fact that a teacher can use Brisk and be able to give like the glow and grow next steps and even having some rubric criteria. I know that it has a free version and a paid as well, but my teachers are getting a lot of use out of the free version as well. So there are potential ways in K-12 where we can integrate AI and, encouraging students to use AI to help give them the feedback that they need. So the fifth one is going to be kind of rethinking your review. So if I'm a student and I know that I have an assessment coming up, a project or something, and I need to review, really leveraging AI to rethink that review is something that I'm trying to get my teachers to encourage students to think about. So again, we'll listen to Rachel from being a sophomore at college, and then we'll also hear an idea at the high school level.
So right now I'm taking this anatomy class where I have to memorize 250 words in 2 weeks. And at the end of it, there's like a test where I have to like locate bones and see which ones are related, and then use the vocabulary words to label them. To kind of help me get through this 250 and not make it seem like there's so many, I use ChatGPT. I have it create mnemonic devices that link the different bones within the certain structures to kind of help me keep them together. A lot of words are really similar, even though they're not within the same groups. So this can help me differentiate between those. And just in general, 250 is a lot of words for me to memorize. So these mnemonic devices help keep it short, sweet, and succinct. It's just overall been a great tool for me, not only in anatomy, but through other classes in college.
And really, whenever I bring up this point, I hadn't even thought about, how my daughter, when she was currently in anatomy, old school way of thinking of this is get out this stack of index cards and get your flashcards going. Having to learn 250 bones within 2 weeks, that's really daunting. Now, I love being able to show this example to not only teachers as an idea, but I want to say it was January, I did a presentation for Indiana superintendents. And me being able to show this example, I immediately said, this is not cheating to me. Is it cheating to you? And it was really good for, folks that are in those higher up positions to see what this actual experience is like. Because, having that lens of just talking about it, but having a real student example of how it can help them leverage for their studying, all of them in the room started to say back to me, no, this is a great way to leverage AI. Yes, I could go back to having the stack of flashcards, but why would I do that when I have access to a tool like this that can help me out significantly and cut down on my time, so that I'm able to learn the content at a rapid rate. So in addition to this example, on the next one, my daughter Kate, who's the one that I said's a freshman at the high school level, she talked about leveraging Quizlet AI.
So I have teachers that don't use Quizlet, so I had to go on my own and make my own flashcards through Quizlet. And for different classes, I'll use it for make different sets. But for this example, I'm using my PBS Biomed class, and here I have 47 words I need to memorize for my next test. And so I use the Q chat through Quizlet. And so here it'll like kind of ask me a question like what is not a sign of a concussion, and say I don't understand what's going on. I can hit the I don't know option. And then it'll give me a hint, like it starts with the letter H, but I could still say I'm not sure. Can you help more? And then it'll give me more answers on like hunger, and now you can tell me, and then it'll ask me, can you tell me what is not a sign of a concussion, like another symptom? But basically it kind of goes back and forth, kind of helping me. And if I don't understand, I can say I don't understand. And if I do understand, it'll keep going on to the next questions.
So what I had asked her at the end of this clip, again, this happened, completely on her own. She happened to tell me, I remember her walking in the door. She was like, well, crud, this teacher doesn't use Quizlet, and I've got this assessment coming up, and I've got all these flashcards, all of these terms. How am I going to get ready for it? And within 2 seconds, she then said, oh, well, I'll just go to Quizlet and make one myself. And I was like, good for you. But then whenever she started to show me the Quizlet AI, I was like, wait a minute, I thought this cost money. And I was very surprised that the Q chat was free. Now, since then, I've talked to Quizlet, and I know they have like a certain amount of chats that students can do for free. And I'm sure that will change over time. But if I've learned anything about students, if one thing is going to be paid, then they're going to find another tool that does the same concept. But basically what I'm saying is that having access to these tools is really getting a kid to rethink how they can prepare and how they can review for, their materials and coming up to help them study. And I know we often talk about the new digital divide, and it's literally already here. When we talk about, the old digital divide was, do you have access to internet, in your household, and that gap. Now the new divide that's already starting is those students who know how to leverage AI as a study tool and use it effectively in class versus those that are like, oh no, I can't use that at all. That's considered cheating. And we're going to have this widening gap. And those that are going to be more prepared to use it in the workforce are the ones that are willing to start trying to use it in these study habits. Towards the end of this presentation, what I wanted to bring up, first off, I hope that you got, some great takeaways. If you're an educator watching this, honestly, I hope that you're willing to share some of these ideas with students at the secondary level that you may have, because it's going to help them in their studying process. It kind of leads me into a additional resource, which I have the bit.ly listed there if you're interested in it, because there's lots of different conversations that we need to be having about AI. And I kind of put it into like a micro lesson format. One of the biggest topics that I know that people need to talk about is the plagiarism and all of those things and AI detectors. I'm going to highlight one activity that I have inside of that resource. And this to me is one of the most important. And you're going to hear my same daughter that's in college reference an example of something that happened to her in one of her classes. So I'm going to play the clip. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm going to play the clip, and then I'll have you guys give me some feedback about it.
Okay, this is just like the explanation. So I have this paper that I just wrote for one of my human biology classes, and I keep, like, the professors seeming like they're going to be really crazy about AI, so I keep running it through like detection generators, and half of them are telling me that it's AI generated, and the other half are telling me that it's fine. But my professor is very strict and keeps saying, like, we'll fail you if we detect that you've used AI for anything or stuff like that. And I just want to be careful before I turn it in, even though I didn't use AI for any of it. So I didn't know if there was like any way to confirm. I know we use Turnitin software at IU, but I don't want to turn it in, have it say that I used AI and I didn't, and have no way to prove it, That's just scary. So I didn't know if like you could help me with anything, or tell me if there's a way to make sure that this wasn't AI generated and it won't pop up as AI generated for my professors.
So, okay, first off, my daughter asked me, do I have any way that I can help her confirm? Because she was saying, I'm trying on some other AI detectors, and some say she did, some didn't. We do not use Turnitin at my school district with Canvas. And I'm glad that we don't, because it is flat out not accurate. And I'm sure many people have talked about how AI detectors are not. I did reach out to a friend of mine that does have access to it. And I said, I'm worried about her for her class. Can you run it through and let me know? Here's the frightening part. Okay. And my daughter is, very good student. She's not the type that's going to, use it for plagiarism and all of that kind of stuff and have AI do it for her. But when my friend ran it through Turnitin, it came back 41% AI, which is so scary because she legitimately did not use AI. So then my conversation started to get me thinking of why would it come up 41% AI? And so when I reached out to different people to have that discussion, one person mentioned to me, because it is a scientific or a science-based class, it could be popping up with having a percentage of AI, simply because there's only so many ways that you can reword a research paper. It's scientific research. It's not like you can change the scientific research. The other thing that someone else mentioned is the fact that if it's tied to a prompt that the professor has done many, many times, that could be another reason why that it's popping up that way. Now, I'm happy to report that even though it came back 41%, she was fine. They didn't even say anything to her, which she was saying, how do I get prepared in case it were to come back to me? Which, as a mom and as an educator, I immediately said, did you do it in Google Docs? And she said yes. And I said, well, we've always got file version history where they could, you can legitimately say, prove to somebody, you don't see any areas where I've got a lot of copying and pasting. They can see the progress of your work. So as I said, nothing happened to her, but I do think that this conversation is very important to have right now. So one of the activities that I have inside of the AI micro lessons, I have the video clip from her. I have an article that's actually talking about how many colleges are going away from Turnitin because they're having such high false positive rates. But for this activity, if you wanted to do this conversation in a classroom, I tied it to an activity where I called it coin toss. So basically, you can either do a digital flipping of a coin or have students get it out. But I do think thinking about different perspectives is important. So if you flip the coin and it's a heads, then you could act as the parent reacting to this situation, or a teacher. But if you got tails, then you could be a student. And then you could also think about, what if you're an employer and, and you're trying to deal with this type of situation. So really, I just wanted to wrap up my time kind of letting you know 5 strategies as I discussed. And as I said earlier, I've got access to all kinds of resources that you can check out that are inside of that activity. So I'm going to wrap things up. And honestly, if you guys have any questions, feel free to add anything in there. But I was excited, as I said, to present about this topic today.
What a fantastic theme presentation, but also chock full of good content. So
Thanks.
Yeah, I was a little selfish by wanting to have you on, because I'm gonna have to miss Spark this year, and I've attended like the last 3 years, and
Yes.
I wanted to see your presentation.
Now you did. Now you
Yeah.
did. You don't have to worry
No,
about
it was fabulous. I love the student perspective.
Yeah,
If
to
anyone,
me, I think that's so important, because we keep talking about this, but I want to hear from kids. I want to hear from them. What is it like? What can we do to help you? How can we make this better for you?
yeah, I was actually at saying, and of course, detectors is one of the first thing that comes up, and we need to have the conversation so we can shift educators' thinking to different ways to assess. But papers are a staple. We're always going to have to write papers. There's a teacher in California that was talking about it, and she's like talking about the different detectors that exist. And the first day of school, she basically had a piece of student work, a piece from ChatGPT, and a student assisted piece. She didn't tell them what they were. She had them basically grade them based on her rubric.
Oh,
And once they were finished grading, they went through and they put like how it met the rubric. She's like, all right, now which one was the bot? Because they
that's
weren't
good.
looking for that initially. And they found it. They were accurate. And she's like, if you can identify it, so can I. So,
That's a great one. That's a great one. I love that.
yeah. And then of course the question came up with, well, what happens if the student is such a great writer, I can't tell if it's the bot? And it's like, well, where's the problem? The student's a great writer and already like,
Yeah.
you know,
And
So
that's another point. My whenever we were working with my daughter on her situation, another person mentioned to me that she's a very, very good writer. And they were saying that sadly, the better writer that you already are, the more likely the AI is going to think that you didn't
that
write
you're,
it.
yeah.
And I said, how scary is that for our students that are, high ability? If you're a struggling, writer, on top of that, I don't know. It's just frightening to me to think that we have to get beyond just thinking that the detector is the automatic solution.
Yeah, and even OpenAI says that the detectors aren't accurate.
Right.
So when you have the creators of, large LLMs saying that detectors aren't accurate, we should probably listen to them and
Right.
stop using that as a measure or a method of detection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mentioned earlier, Brisk. Brisk has a great tool for inspecting drafts. It has a video replay of students drafting for Google Docs.
Yep.
So, like, my initial response would be if it was thought that a student maybe did drop, attach that Brisk extension and just kind of go through and look at their drafting process.
Right, right. We've even told our teachers that, even just using the draft back, Chrome extension, that one works really well too, to discover all of that information as well.
David just made an interesting comment. I saw a presentation that neurodivergent students get told they incorrectly use AI at a high rate.
Wow.
David, if you could hunt down or the presentation or a study that was based off of, I would love to read that.
Yes. Yes. And actually at ISTE coming up, my youngest daughter, Mackenzie, is going to be presenting with Holly Clark on AI and dyslexia.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so getting to hear from someone who struggles, and understanding how we need to level that playing field is going to be very important as well.
I can't say what we're presenting on, but my daughter will be presenting with me at ISTE as
Ooh,
well.
good.
So I'm super excited. It's going to be fun, but just keep your eyes out for post on Twitter when I'm able to announce it. So
All right. Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you. I think we're going to wrap this up. This means that I will actually start my next session on time. Yay.
I caught you up. How about that?
Yeah, you caught me up. I appreciate that. And it was jam-packed with like really good information. So
Good. Thanks.
later on, if you're able to share the link to your presentations, I'll be collecting those and mailing them out to our registered participants to review.
Okay.
I know I personally would like to go back and listen to your daughter's reflections again. I was multitasking on the back end, and I might have ate a cheeseburger during your session as well.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, we will see you in the next session. Don't forget, if you haven't used School AI yet, to reflect on your sessions today. I have a space for you. And I will be looking at that space at the end of tonight to announce our swag winners. Those of you who participate and give us good reflective feedback on today's sessions, the highlights, your takeaways, what you've learned. We're going to have you dripping with Riz, some Week of AI swag. So, all right. Thank you again. See you guys in a bit.